I was earning way more than what any full-time job can afford to pay me. The very first thing to keep in mind is you can never be 100% ready, and my full-time job is paying me way little and I had family responsibility. Then I will suggest you choose something easy to start with, something like, so don't let yourself get stuck. And the key is I kept improving every single day.
So hello everyone, today we have Sadiq with us. He is an amazing virtual assistant and doing amazing work on her work. So there are not a lot of people who are giving assistance about virtual assistants. So we have Sadiq today and he'll be guiding us throughout his journey about what to do, what don't to do. And for me as well, as a person who doesn't know a lot about virtual assistant, I'll be learning as well with you. So without any further delay, let's welcome Sadiq to the DD episode 3. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right, please introduce yourself to my audience, Sadiq.
Okay, hi everyone. I am Sadiq Umar. I have been a full-time virtual assistant for a few years now. I actually started back in 2019 and I am a full-time virtual assistant right now. But I haven't started as a virtual assistant. I have started as a freelancer. And I started really when I had a full-time job. And my full-time job is paying me way little and I had family responsibility. So I kept thinking of a way to earn extra income outside of my job, and that's when I started searching for how to make money online. And when I started searching for how to make money online, I came across most of the things you find when you search for how to make money online. That's drop shipping, affiliate marketing, blogging, and I tried most of those, but none of it really works for me until I discovered freelancing. And when I discovered freelancing, that is where I started earning my first money online. And I worked as a freelancer for a long time before I discovered virtual assistants. And I started virtual assistants because I didn't like working with different clients every single week. So I became a virtual assistant where I work with 1 or 2 clients for a long time. And when I started working as a virtual assistant, that is when I was able to replace my full-time job. And I was earning way more than what any full-time job can afford to pay me. And I have been a full-time virtual assistant for a few years now.
Oh God, what a superb intro. Alright, Sadiq, it's good to hear that you are now doing what you love to do, and it's really, what should I say? It makes me happy as well that you are able to replace your job. There are a lot of people who want to do the same. They are thinking of starting their career in freelancing, but you are a virtual assistant, so I would love to know about what a virtual assistant is. Like in simple brief, what according to you, if you have to explain a kid who is totally new to this world, how would you do it? How would you explain it?
The easiest way I explain virtual assistants to new people who don't know what virtual assistant is, I just ask you if you can you be an administrative assistant, like in an office? If someone hire you to be an administrative assistant for them, is that a position you can handle? If that is a position that you can handle, then you can become a virtual assistant, because virtual assistant is almost like an administrative assistant, but you are working remotely in your remote location. And another difference is you choose the services that you are offering to clients, and you offer those services to them on a recurring basis. Weekly, they pay you either weekly or monthly, depending on how you agree with the client. And most of the virtual assistant clients are not looking for someone who has an expertise in a specific field. Most of the virtual assistant clients are looking for someone who has a modest knowledge of learning some specific tasks and who can save them time. So virtual assistant is just someone who offers administrative assistant services to clients remotely in a remote position, in a remote location, and you usually get paid by hour instead of working on one project for one client like freelancers normally do. You as a virtual assistant, you work with the client on a recurring basis and offering the same services over and over again. You save them time and you offer the services as if you have been hired to do a work full time, but instead in a remote location.
All right, great. So, Sadiq, if I want to become a virtual assistant, what are the 4 or 5 skills that you would recommend me to learn first, or I should, or I must have that in order to become a virtual assistant, a good virtual assistant, I would say.
So when you want to become a virtual assistant, the very first thing obviously is choosing the skills that you want to start offering. And what you need to do at this stage is just think, do you have some skills that you can offer, something like data entry, something like content writing, graphic design? Do you have any skills, any freelancing skills that you can start offering as a virtual assistant? If you have any of those skills, then that will be a good place to start. You can just start offering the skills that you already have. But if you don't have any skills that you think you can start offering as a virtual assistant, then I will suggest you choose something easy to start with, something like data entry. Because I believe almost anyone can become a data entry virtual assistant. So you can choose something like data entry to start with, and you can later choose other skills to add. But data entry is a good skill to start with as a complete beginner. There are many factors to consider when choosing a skill. Because if you choose to offer something like data entry, there is obviously going to be a lot more competition than if you choose to become something like digital marketer, or something like software developer, or something like website management virtual assistant. So if you choose to become a data entry virtual assistant, there is going to be more competition, but it's easy to start. So there are a lot of factors to consider when choosing a service, and you just need to consider your learning capability, how fast can you learn something, and the skills that you already have.
Alright. So this is how you have to select a skill, and then you have to pick a niche in short, and then you have to become assistant or virtual assistant of that particular niche, right?
Yes, that's exactly, yeah.
Alright. So what are the services that you provide, Sadiq, and how do you manage it?
Well, the services that I personally offer, I am a little more tech savvy than most people. So for that reason, I am a technical virtual assistant, tech VA in short. And the services that I personally offer is website management and website maintenance, including malware removal and detection. And I offer stuff like landing page design. I do something like email marketing, campaign management. I do course creation. I generally work with online course creators and business coaches. So I offer all of the technical services that course creators and business coaches require. And that is what I was talking about, that you just need to consider your own learning capability and the skills that you have, so that it will be easier for you to choose a niche and the services that you can start offering as a virtual assistant. Because not everyone can become a technical virtual assistant, and somebody just like writing. If you like writing, then it might be a good idea to consider something like working for someone who has a blog that you will be writing content regularly for them, formatting the content and publishing it for them. You can do newsletter content writing. You can manage email marketing campaign completely if you love writing. So that's something that you just need to do a little research, and depending on your unique capabilities, that is when you can be able to choose a niche and the services that you can start offering.
All right, that's a lot. Okay, so if I have to start, if I want to start, or anyone watching here want to start, what would you recommend? Like, what is the easiest niche virtual assistant that one can learn within 1-2 months and can, go enter the market?
The easiest skill to learn as a virtual assistant is data entry, and that include using Excel, Microsoft Excel. For example, a client might send you a bulk list of properties. Someone like real estate agent or real estate investor, they might extract data from a website and send you a whole lot of data with property names, addresses, and the name of the owners, and ask you to pick a specific properties which match specific criteria. So these are the services that will require your time. But even if you don't have any advanced skills of anything, you can perform this kind of tasks. So even if you don't have any skills, and this is what I recommend for beginners, complete beginners to virtual assistant, if you don't have any skills that you can start offering as a virtual assistant, then choose data entry, because this is something that doesn't require an expertise, it just requires your time. When you get started, you learn all the other aspects of becoming a virtual assistant. Then if you like, you can consider choosing another niche and learning other skills to include in your profile.
Alright, great. So that was great insight, to be honest. I am also learning a lot about virtual assistants now, and I'm feeling confident that whoever is watching will get some values too. The question that arises in my mind after listening to these things is that okay, that we need XYZ amount of skills. We have to, spend some. Is there need of a portfolio for virtual assistants? Like, how can we create a portfolio for virtual assistants if there is a need? If not, then how you convince that you are a good virtual assistant?
Portfolio is crucial in becoming a virtual assistant, especially if you are a beginner just starting out. Even if you are an expert, you need a portfolio if you are looking for clients. And what's a portfolio? A portfolio is like your storefront. It's what your potential clients are going to look at to evaluate your skills to determine whether they want to work with you or not. So that is why you need to have a portfolio. And as a virtual assistant, your portfolio needs to have some specific things in it so that it will be effective. And one thing is you need to have your nice smiling face on your portfolio. You should avoid having an image, because I see some new virtual assistant will just find a picture that they took with friends and they crop themselves out and use it on their portfolio. These are some of the bad practices of creating a portfolio. So you should have a profile picture, a picture with your nice smiling face with not too much noise in the background in your portfolio, and you should have a clear introduction of yourself and the services that you are offering. And when writing your description, you should avoid using ChatGPT or any AI software to write your introduction. What I recommend is do a search on freelancing platforms, Upwork, freelancer.com, fiverr.com, and find some top freelancers, top virtual assistants on that platform and see how they write their introduction. Don't copy them, but take inspiration from them. Write your introduction based on how you see other freelancers who are offering the same services that you want to start offering, how they write their introduction, and try to write your introduction by taking inspiration from this. And another thing to include in your portfolio, which is very important, is you need to have some sample work on your portfolio. I know you are a complete beginner, you probably don't have any previous jobs, you haven't completed any previous jobs, and what you should do is, depending on the services that you choose to start offering, think of a way to do a sample work, to do a dummy work. Whatever you are offering as a virtual assistant, create a sample project, do the work as if a client hires you to do the work for them, and then include it in your portfolio. Because a portfolio with a sample project is going to be 100 times more effective than a portfolio with no sample work. So it's very important to include a sample work in your portfolio. And also the next thing that you should include in your portfolio is, I know if you are a complete beginner, you haven't completed any job for any client, but just if you have ever done any work in your life, include it in your portfolio. If you previously had a full-time job or a part-time job, whatever you do, any work that you ever did in your life, you can include it in your portfolio, especially if it is relevant to what you are offering. And being a virtual assistant, you are almost like an administrative assistant. So if you had a full-time job or part-time job, then it's a good thing to add it in your portfolio. And there are many places to host your portfolio. You can host your portfolio on a freelancing platform, that's Upwork, Fiverr, or freelancer.com. That is what I recommend for most beginners. And you can also host your portfolio on a personal website, whether on Wix, WordPress, or you can even create your portfolio website in Canva, which will only take you a few minutes. And you can also even create your portfolio in a PDF format or in a platform like Dribbble or Behance, depending on whether you are offering services that works with Dribbble or Behance. So having a portfolio is a must for virtual assistant. Whether you are new or expert, if you are looking for clients, you need to have a portfolio.
So we are talking about clients. How did you get your first client, Sadiq?
How I found my first client is, I started as a freelancer, not a virtual assistant. So finding my virtual assistant client was easy because I already have experience being a freelancer. Finding my first freelance client, that is the challenge. And it took me about 3 to 4 months to find my first freelancing client. And that is because I just did trial and error. I tried things, didn't work, I tried something else. And the key is I kept improving every single day. And when I just started, I didn't know anything about creating a right portfolio. I didn't know anything about writing a winning proposal. So I had to learn. And I learned while I am doing it. So when I send proposals, I didn't hear back from potential client. I send more proposals. I didn't hear back from them. I just sit and think about my process, the process that I follow to send proposals and everything. And that's what I kept improving. Sometimes I improve my portfolio, which is on a freelancing platform. Sometimes I learn a new strategy for writing a winning proposal. Sometimes I improve the type of client I send my proposal to. So that's what I did really. There is nothing specific that led me to finding my first client. It was a process. It's a process that I followed. I kept improving every single day. And when I found my first client, I was a little more aggressive in finding the client. I was doing everything. I was putting a lot of effort, doing everything I can possibly think of until I found my first client. And by the time I started virtual assistance, I already had a lot of reviews, a lot of completed projects, and a lot of experience. I know how it works. I have a right portfolio. I know how to write a winning proposal. So it was easy for me to find my virtual assistant client because I already have experience being a freelancer.
I agree. Actually, for me as well, I got my first client. The first client took a lot of time. I got my first client after 2.5 months. So yeah, getting first client is a challenging task. I agree. Alright,
I did a poll recently on Instagram. I asked, have you found your first client yet? And 80% of the virtual assistant that bought choose no. So that means 80% of the new virtual assistant did not find their first client. So yes, finding the first client is the hardest challenge. When you find your first client, it will be easier to find the second client, and it will be even easier to find the next one.
Alright, there is a reminder or information for all the viewers watching out there that Sadiq owns a YouTube channel where he teaches about his freelancing journey and freelancing tips, tricks, a lot of things. You can check that out. I'll put the link in description. Go and check it his channel and make sure to follow him. Alright, so now as we were talking about clients, what are your suggestions of finding the first client? Like you said 80% of the folks were not able to find their first client. What is your approach? Like what would you recommend me and the viewers for watching in order to get their first client?
So there are a lot of reasons why most virtual assistants can't find their first client fast. And some of the reasons is, first, they are probably making some mistakes. And the first mistake is having a wrong portfolio or having mistakes in a portfolio. That is going to prevent you from finding your first client. Because I had many virtual assistants and many freelancers for my client. And what I see over and over again, when I posted a project, most new virtual assistants that send their proposals, when I check out their portfolio, you will either see some grammatical errors in their portfolio, or you will see, let me give you an example. There was one time a client wanted me to hire a social media graphic designer for them. I make a post on a Facebook group and collect portfolios from new virtual assistant. And one in particular sent me their portfolio in a PDF format. I checked their portfolio and the picture they have on the portfolio, they just crop it out of a group picture. That's first. And in the description is about 3 lines. That doesn't cover it. 3 lines is not a good description. And the text that they have on the portfolio, some of the text are out of the box that the text is supposed to be in. So if a client is looking for someone to do graphics for them, how can they consider someone with that kind of portfolio? So this is one major mistake that I see most new virtual assistants make, having a wrong portfolio. Because when you send proposal to client, they will check out your portfolio. And if you have a wrong portfolio, they are not going to hire you. And the next mistake that I see your most new virtual assistant make is writing a generic proposal. Your proposal is what will start a conversation between you and your potential client. So if you don't know how to write a good proposal, then your potential client are not going to be interested in checking out your portfolio. So even if you have the right portfolio, if the proposal you sent is all wrong, then you are just wasting your time. So you just need to learn how to write a winning proposal. And one thing to keep in mind is don't use ChatGPT or any AI software to write your proposal. Because if AI write your proposal, it is going to sound generic. And if you have a generic proposal, then there is no way it will stand out. And the client is probably going to know that it comes from ChatGPT. And when they see that it comes from ChatGPT, then you don't even put an effort into writing a proposal. That's not an indication that you will put an effort into doing a good job for them. So having a right proposal is also key. And another mistake that I see most virtual assistants make is going after the wrong jobs. This is a mistake that I also personally made when I was just starting my freelancing career. When a client posts a project, especially on a freelancing platform like Upwork, they are going to set a criteria. They are going to specify whether they are looking for a virtual assistant who speaks more than one language. If they specify that they are looking for someone who speaks Spanish and you are not speaking Spanish, then when you send your proposal, you just wasted your time. And some clients will specify that they are looking for a virtual assistant in a specific country. And if you are not living in that country, when you send your proposal, you also wasted your time. And also some clients will specify that they are looking for expert or beginner or intermediate virtual assistant. So you as a complete beginner, if you send your proposal to a client who is looking for an expert virtual assistant, you are probably not going to get the job because you will be competing with expert virtual assistant and you have nothing to show that will prove you are an expert. So even if you send 100 proposals to clients who are looking for an expert, you are probably not going to get the job. So let's say you avoid all of these mistakes. You have the right portfolio, you know how to write a winning proposal, and you are going after the right jobs, and you still can't find your first client. What shall you do? The very first thing that you should do in this case is be a little more aggressive. If you are sending 10 proposals a week, make it 50. If you are sending 50 proposals a week and you can't find your first client, then double it. And if you are looking for client on Upwork, look for client on Upwork and Fiverr. If you are looking for client in one place, find other places to find client. Be a little more aggressive in finding your first client. And I'm sure if you become a little more aggressive and you are doing everything right, then finding your first client is going to be a lot easier. And another thing to keep in mind is when you are just starting out, you are going to be making mistakes. This is inevitable. You have to make mistakes. There is no way out of it. So you just have to get started and make these mistakes and figure out the mistakes and learn how to fix them. Because if you won't know that you are making a mistake maybe in your proposal until you send it to multiple clients, to many clients, and then when you review it carefully, you will figure out the mistakes. So there might be some mistake that you will be making and you will not notice that you are making the mistake. And the only way to notice it is to keep doing it. When you keep doing it and keep trying to improve every single day, then you will be able to figure out the mistake and you will be able to fix the mistake and do things better and find your first client easy. And another thing to avoid is avoid charging too low. If you set your rate too low, you try to compete on price, then that is not going to help you. Because if on average virtual assistants are charging $10 per hour and you decide to charge $3 per hour so that it will be easy for you to find your first client, you are not doing yourself a favor. Because most clients who are looking for a virtual assistant, they are looking for someone reliable. And if you set your rate too low, then you are going to end up appearing unreliable. Some clients are going to feel uncomfortable with hiring you because they will be uncomfortable with the quality of work that you will provide. And even if you manage to find your first client with too low of a rate, then that is also going to hurt you because the client is probably going to end up taking advantage of you and you might end up having a bad experience. So avoid setting your rate too low. Always go for an average when you are just starting out.
Yeah, great. No. It was indeed a good answer. Okay, I got too much insights and I'm just still processing out of it. Okay, so now that we have learned what to do and what not to do, it's time to find the clients. Like, you have to find the clients, the viewers, once you are done with the skill processing and everything. So for me and Sadiq, we are the persons who are working on freelancing platforms, and the other ways can be cold emailing, cold DMing. As you mentioned, you can double the your inputs in order to get your first client. Just because there are a lot of people who get demotivated because they are not getting their clients. They tried this small much, and they're expecting a lot. How are you getting going to get results? Because effort sometime matters. You have to double, triple, and quadruple sometimes. Just do it. If you are putting efforts, you will definitely get the results. Time maybe time can vary. Some may get results earlier, some may take some time, and then you will get your clients. For me, it took 2.5 months, like a lot of time. But now it's not like that. We get clients every week. A new client I onboard every week. So yeah, it's like that. Okay, so you have learned about client, the skills, the skill set. Now the most crucial part is pricing. As you mentioned that some of the people charge themselves like very low, and they won't be able to work in a long-term relationship with the clients. So what should be the pricing strategy as a virtual assistant? What are your pricings? Like, is there a per hour system, or you charge on monthly basis? What is the pricing system?
When it comes to pricing, I recommend new virtual assistant. Almost majority of virtual assistants charge per hour, charge an hourly rate. So this is what I recommend for all virtual assistants, because you as a virtual assistant, you are not going to be doing one specific thing. You are probably going to be doing separate things for client. So if you choose to give a rate, not an hourly rate, like a specific rate for each project, it might be like every day you have to negotiate a price for every new project. But if you are just charging per hour, then you just track your time, Clockify, Toggle, whatever you use, you just track your time. And at the end of the week, at the end of 2 weeks or a month, you send a report to your client and they pay you depending on your agreement with the client. So setting an hourly rate, I believe, is the best option for virtual assistants.
Connection lost.
Shall we continue?
Yes, please.
Alright, the question remains the same, the pricing one. You can start answering it.
When it comes to pricing, I recommend new virtual assistant. Almost majority of virtual assistants charge per hour, charge an hourly rate. So this is what I recommend for all virtual assistants, because you as a virtual assistant, you are not going to be doing one specific thing. You are probably going to be doing separate things for client. So if you choose to give a rate, not an hourly rate, like a specific rate for each project, it might be like every day you have to negotiate a price for every new project.
Alright, what should be the ideal hourly rate? Like $50 per hour, $100 per hour? What should be the ideal? Or what everyone is using out there in market?
Well, the reason why I cannot give a specific general rate is there are different types of BAs, right? There is a technical BA who charge a little more than a data entry virtual assistant, and so if you are specialized in a specific skill, then you are probably going to charge higher than general virtual assistant. But if you are only offering data entry services and other general services, then I will say you can start with a minimum of $10 per hour. Many virtual assistants start lower than that, but I don't recommend it. If you are looking to find a reliable client, then if you are offering general services, then I recommend you start with $10 per hour.
Alright, as an expert that you are in this field and you have been working for a long time right now, so what are your charges? Like the highest you charge, and what you started with? Like, there might be some changes now when you started and now that you have gained experience and a lot of things. Is there any difference, or you kept the price same?
Yes, there is a difference. When I started my very first BA client, I charged them $8 per hour. And that's because I didn't even know what to charge. I didn't know what to charge, and I just choose $8 per hour. And that's the very first client. I send my proposal to my BBA client, and I get the job from them, and I work with them for a long time. But when I know that I can find client anytime that I want to find client, I don't have that anxiety of losing client, then I'm comfortable with charging no matter what I want to charge. And I am an expert in many fields. So for that reason, I know I can charge higher than a normal average virtual assistant. So I raise my rate to $18 per hour. So that's my current rate right now. I work at $18 per hour, and I work with 2 clients. I recently had to work with one other client. I'm working with 3 clients, but that's the rate I charge. I charge $18 per hour, but that's not something I recommend for beginners getting started, because you are not an expert in many fields. So for that reason, it might be a good idea to start low. When you become an expert, you know you can deliver a job faster than average virtual assistant. Because let's say you hire a beginner to do a job for you. If it takes the beginner 1 hour to complete the job, if I am an expert in that job, it will it will probably take me only 30 minutes. So it's fair for me to charge higher than a beginner to virtual assistants.
All right, great. So we are near the end of the podcast, and last 2 questions that I have for you. Sadiq, please give a 5-step or 6-step roadmap for anyone who is totally, completely new to this field and want to establish his or her career in this field, just like you that you are doing. What are the 5-step or 6 steps that you will give him or to follow him thoroughly, so that he can become, or he can be at the position where you are at?
Okay, so the very first step is to get started before you are ready. That's what I tell everyone who wants to start virtual assistants, because you can never be 100% ready. You have to get started and make things better. You are going to make mistakes. That's inevitable. So you should make the mistakes, and you should improve every single day. And for this reason, the very first thing you should do is create your virtual assistant profile on a freelancing platform. Doesn't matter which one. Choose Upwork, Fiverr, or freelancer.com and create your profile today if you want to get started. Don't worry about making mistakes and doing things wrong, because you are not going to find your first client the day you create your profile. So create your profile today. When you create your profile, then do a research. Search on YouTube most easiest skills to learn, virtual assistant skills, and you will find a lot of suggestions. And then you can go through the skills and you pick at least 1 or 2 skills to start with. I recommend you start with data entry, but still you should do a research and pick a service that you want to start offering. This is the second step after you create your virtual assistant profile. When you choose your services, when you choose what you are going to start offering, the next thing is to actually have the skills, right? If you want to become data entry virtual assistant, then learn how to use Excel, learn how to do data entry services. That's the next step. When you know how to do these 3 things, then you can just get started looking for clients. You are going to make mistakes. That is inevitable. Whatever you do, no matter what it is, you are going to make mistakes. So it's okay to make those mistakes, and that is the only way to learn. Whatever challenge you came across, then you can figure out a way to overcome the challenge. You can do a search on YouTube, Google, and you will find a lot of suggestions and a lot of tips on how to overcome almost any challenge that you will encounter. So the very first thing to keep in mind is you can never be 100% ready. So don't let yourself get stuck in a learning phase where you will keep learning. You will keep learning without implementing anything. So just get started today and make mistakes and do things better.
All the best, everyone. Do mistakes and just start right now. All right. So we have asked him a lot of questions, and he has answered everything so generously. And I'm so grateful that you came today on the podcast. And I want you to say a last goodbye message kind of thing to our viewers. And I would like to thank you as well. I'll do it later. First of all, I will ask you to say a goodbye message, your last word to the audience, whatever you want to say to the new freelancers, newbies.
Well, I am very happy to be here, and I am glad to have the opportunity of speaking with all of you. So, one last advice I give to all new people who want to start virtual assistants or freelancing is start before you are ready and be willing to do whatever it takes to make it work. Just think about the life you will have if you succeed as a virtual assistant. You won't have to work for anybody full time. You won't have to take orders from anyone. You can choose what you do, who you work for, and all of the benefit that comes with it. And if you are willing to do whatever it takes to make it work, then you will find a way to make it work. And if you have any questions about anything that I said in this video or anything about virtual assistant, you can just post it in the comment of this video and I will surely get back to you. And I wish you find your first client or your next client very soon.
Okay, so with that said, it's the end of the podcast. If you're watching till now, then please drop a yellow heart or a yellow star in the comment section below. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you, Sadiq, for joining us. Alright, do like, share, comment, subscribe, everyone. Bye.